Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. Faith groups in Yorkshire urge unity as tensions escalate between India and Pakistan.
We stand shoulder to shoulder. Any trouble that happens, we talk to each other. We sit at the table and try and make sure that nothing goes out of hand.
The feeling here at a grassroots level are very raw. People are understandably feeling very vulnerable and emotional.
We look at the impact of tensions on communities in our region. Also tonight, the Sheffield dental practice calling for more funding to cope with an extra 4,000 NHS patients. Fighting the fly tippers, hundreds of tonnes of illegally dumped rubbish is cleared up in Bradford. And we hear from one of the last remaining D-Day veterans as he takes an emotional trip back to the beach where he came ashore.
Well, we've had a day of variable cloud and some sunshine, but certainly summer is on its way as we head into the weekend. Join me for the very latest.
Hello there, thank you for your company this Wednesday evening. It may be thousands of miles away, but the ripple effects of events in India and Pakistan have been felt right here in Yorkshire. Today, representatives of different faith groups in Bradford are calling for calm and for people to unite. There's been a sharp escalation in tension in the region after India launched missile strikes in Pakistan last night. This news is particularly disturbing for the nearly 350,000 people living in Yorkshire with Indian and Pakistani heritage who'll be really anxious about the safety of their loved ones living in the Indian subcontinent. Our communities reporter Arzu Dutta has got more.
There have been tensions between India and Pakistan over Kashmir for decades. Last night, these escalated after India launched missile strikes in Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. India says the missile strikes are in response to a deadly militant attack on Indian tourists 2 weeks ago in Indian-administered Kashmir. Although this happened thousands of miles away, for people here in Yorkshire with roots there, it feels closer to home. In Bradford today, people from different faith groups have been meeting. Sophia works within the community and the Council for Mosques.
People are understandably feeling very vulnerable and emotional. Many of us, especially here in Bradford, have ties to Pakistan, India, Kashmir. We have family members there. We have friends or family that were visiting there and are still there. So there's a real feeling of panic for the well-being of those that are there. Grief in certain areas. People have not managed to get hold of their family members. There's been blackout in communication. So there's a lot of fear.
People here with ties back home became tense as soon as the news broke.
So we were able to have those very honest and forthright conversations with one another as Muslim, Sikh, Hindu communities as of last night, moving into this morning to say what are the implications for us here, because there's very real ripple effects that have reached us here in the UK, and how do we work through this together.
Simi started receiving calls in the early hours of the morning.
This is a time for compromise. This is not the time for escalating situations. We must diffuse situations, de-escalate situations, make new friends. We have to learn to understand each other. Someone always has to. It's not tit for tat. And the reality is the community here, they love each other.
For Ravinder, who is part of the Hindu community, now feels like a time to come together.
Yeah, it's important to show that we stand shoulder to shoulder, and I think it's really important to let people think, why not be together and stand and show solidarity, should we say. And what's happening across the world is not in our control. We are more concerned that nothing happens here within our faith centres, with our groups, businesses. So people are more worried this time than the past maybe 2 or 3 times when frictions have happened before.
This is a developing situation. People here face an anxious wait as it unfolds. Arzu Dutta, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Next tonight, when was the last time you went to the dentist? Well, a practice in Sheffield says it can't afford to treat all of its NHS patients unless it secures some extra funding. Darnall Dental Clinic took on an extra 4,000 people, but after losing an NHS subsidy, it's now unable to offer the same level of service. Staff say some patients who can no longer get an appointment have been verbally abusive. Simon Thake has more.
Jason Taylor was among thousands of new patients relieved to finally get an NHS dentist last year.
My confidence was right down. I didn't really go out. I mean, namely depressed and stuff like that. And now I'm getting my teeth in. I'll be able to go out and feel more confident.
But that extra NHS funding to take on new patients has now gone, leaving Darnall Dental Practice in a difficult position.
As a practice, over the last 2 years, we've got a lot more new patients coming to the practice. And obviously, our numbers now have swelled up to plus 4,000 new patients. At the same time, the funding that we have through the NHS dental contract is not matching the demand of the patients that we have.
Darnall Practice benefited from additional reallocated funding within South Yorkshire and was able to extend appointments for new patients. But one temporary emergency appointment led to another, and suddenly 4,000 new patients were on the books.
We've got a core contract that looks after the patients that have been long-standing at the practice, and then when the government pledged to give extra funding, it doesn't actually come from the government, it actually comes from other practices in the area not fulfilling their core contracts. So we then get offered a little bit of extra additional funding to see patients that are in pain. So when we see those patients, they come to us and then all of a sudden they believe that they're a patient of the practice, and it's obviously quite soul destroying telling them that they're not. And some patients don't take kindly to that.
I've had abuse, I've been shouted at, been spat at over the 4 years that I have worked here. At first, when I first started, it was degrading. It was sort of you'd go home and think, is this the job for me? But as I've worked here over the years, it's become the norm.
NHS South Yorkshire said they are committed to reducing health inequalities and providing the best possible access and services within their funding allocation. The Department of Health told us they inherited a dentistry service left broken by years of neglect and are now working to rebuild the sector and expand access. So it's new dentures for Jason and another appointment, at least for now. Simon Thake, BBC Look North, Darnall.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. The footballers in York making heart screening the norm after one of the team collapsed on the pitch last year. Next tonight, South Yorkshire Police have raided houses in Doncaster suspected of being involved in the growth and supply of illegal drugs. The crackdown on organised crime is called Operation Duxford. There have been 13 arrests so far, with more than 200 cannabis plants seized during a series of warrants. Here's Mark Ansell.
An early start for officers in Doncaster, tackling organised crime in the city. Much of it is funded by illegal drug production.
So the police have targeted this property as part of Operation Duxford. They've not found anyone inside, but they have found 3 rooms where cannabis is being grown. And they say that a lot of organised crime is based around these large-scale cannabis cultivations like in here.
It's a problem for communities from an antisocial behaviour perspective. There's also an element of safety around some people bypass electricity, which is unsafe in properties, and that's of course a fire risk. So it's really important to our communities to tackle that, and also for the information that they're sending in to us. So it's to show we are acting on that information. These groups will use those cannabis cultivations to fund their activity, to fund their criminality, to purchase weapons.
Police use drones to assist them in taking down criminals manufacturing illegal drugs. 6 weeks ago, a man tried to run from a Doncaster warehouse hiding a huge cannabis factory.
Show me your hands! Get out! Get out!
He was tracked fleeing the scene with a drone and arrested.
Drones are really good. They give us that aerial overview of activity that's taking place. Quite often criminals can't see where we are with drones, The police helicopter, for example, is generally seen and more noticeable, whereas drones gives us that more mobile aerial overview of activity that's taking place, and we can quite often go undetected in terms of our activity, and then direct officers on the ground to be able to then conduct further operational activity.
Residents who know anything about the production of illegal drugs near where they live are urged to contact the police. It could well be linked to organised crime. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
Just take a look at these images. I don't know about you, but they make me quite cross. Huge clean-up operations are taking place across the Bradford district to remove hundreds of tonnes of this illegally dumped rubbish. The action days are being organised by the social housing provider in communities in partnership with council officials, police and local residents as well. Nicola Rees reports from Pollard Park, where people have been encouraged to look after their neighbourhood and report this.
On Henford Drive in Bradford, it doesn't take long for the skips to fill up.
We've got mattresses, sofas, nitrous oxide canisters, half burnt out wheelie bins.
Household waste of all kinds is being dumped into the street on a regular basis. Some of those responsible live here, others come from outside the area to flight it.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's you know, we can be clearing like two to three van loads a week from this space.
Luke's part of a team pulled together by the social housing provider in communities. They're working with the council, police and residents to try to change behaviour.
Give you one of those.
Yeah. And if people use the wheelie bins all the time, make a massive difference, won't it? Yeah. I think these people who literally do it as a living, collecting rubbish, charging residents to remove the rubbish and then dumping it, and then there's some other people who are contributing to it. What residents need to realise is if we come and shift it, it's costing them. So actually, let's all work together, let's report it, let's even can do that anonymously and let's target the people who are doing it.
When it's bad, I've had three-piece suites, I've had beds, I've had all sorts dumped on here over the years, and it's like I'm ashamed to even bring my own family round. So I report it all the time, I try and clean up out here. It's like it's like our bin day is tomorrow morning, and by tomorrow morning it's going to be heaving outside here again with bin bags.
It was better before, now it's deteriorating, you know.
Johannes has lived here for 15 years. He got a leaflet through his door about the clean-up and wanted to help.
People have become so brazen, they can dump it. Even during the day, I feel disappointed. You know, people are not responsible. If you're fly tipping there, what do you expect is going to take out your rubbish?
There were more than 10,000 reports of fly tipping in Bradford last year. That's about 27 calls every day. So what motivates people like Luke to keep cleaning up?
Passion and love for my district. I love Bradford City, so that's what keeps me going. My message is to, you know, dispose of your waste responsibly. You know, there's a lot of children and families around here, and it's not fair that children can't come out and enjoy their green spaces.
With 5 skip loads of waste cleared, the green spaces are finally restored. But it'll take a community effort to keep them this way. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Bradford.
What a brilliant job they're doing. Young female football players in North Yorkshire will be screened for undiagnosed cardiac conditions after a York City FC player collapsed during a game last year. 18-year-old Summer Paley needed emergency hospital treatment for an undiagnosed heart condition. Now she and her teammates are helping roll out cardiac screenings right across the country. As Sally Hurst reports.
Evening training for York City Ladies FC. But 18-year-old Summer Paley has had to watch from the sidelines for most of this season after she collapsed on the pitch last year.
All I remember is feeling really dizzy and lightheaded, and then from that I don't really know what happened.
It must have been really frightening.
Yeah, it was, because I didn't really know what was happening to me, and I didn't know why I'd collapsed, especially because it's I was so young. I wouldn't expect anything to be wrong with my heart.
It was something I think we'll never forget. I remember playing on the pitch and I just turned round and Summer was on the ground. The medics were already around her and we knew it was more serious than just a natural hamstring injury. It was so scary having to wait to hear if she was going to be okay.
Summer was rushed to hospital where testing revealed a heart condition called supraventricular tachycardia, or SVT. She now takes medication to regulate her heart's rhythm. In men's football, players are regularly screened for any potential cardiac problems, but in the women's game outside of the Super League and the Championship, that doesn't generally happen. But here in North Yorkshire, that's starting to change. Because Summer and Faye have worked with York City to introduce cardiac screening.
Lift this arm up.
This portable ECG device takes just a few seconds to register the electrical activity of the heart. The data is uploaded and analysed by a cardiologist. Any abnormalities can then be investigated further.
You wouldn't necessarily expect, as a 23-year-old, to have any sort of cardiac problems, but you just never know, do you?
Yeah, as well as like playing football, we're all fit and healthy. So we never know if we have an underlying health condition. So it's good to get tested and know, yeah.
The screening is now being rolled out across the North Riding FA.
I think it's all about bringing the equipment to the player. So we obviously were able to bring the equipment here today, and then also they're already at training, they're already going to be there, and it's just a quick, as you saw, 10-second ECG and you're done and dusted. You don't have to go to a doctor or anything like that. It's very simple and very easy.
Two teammates who are turning what was a frightening experience into a positive change for female footballers of the future. Sally Hurst, BBC Look North, York.
The British Superbikes Authority has confirmed that Huddersfield rider Tom Tunstall's condition remains stable as he recovers from a crash in which two other riders were killed. Tunstall sustained a broken bone in his neck and is being cared for at specialist unit at Royal Stoke Hospital following the incident at Alton Park in Cheshire on Monday. Police are investigating the crash in which Owen Jenner and Shane Richardson tragically lost their lives. Now, VE Day events are taking place right across our region this week, and one woman who's extremely busy entertaining military veterans with songs from the war is Katie Ashby from Wakefield. The founder of the D-Day Darlings was at Downing Street party this week. We'll hear from her shortly, but first let's have a listen to a snippet of the new album, Victorious. Can't help tapping my feet to all of those songs. Katie, it's really good to see you. Tell me, what songs get the veterans really going?
Oh, well, the ones you've heard, We'll Meet Again, Boogie Woogie Boogie Boy, In the Mood. They love all of them. They like to be taken back, all the nostalgia of those songs. It just takes them on a real journey and they love it.
And what sort of reaction do you get when you start singing these songs in front of them?
Oh, gosh, they're just so moved from start to finish. It just lights them up in so many ways. They remember their comrades that they lost. They remember the times that they had, their loved ones back then. It really does take them back in time, and we love that.
Yeah, it really evokes memories, doesn't it, music? Tell me about some of the events that you've had this week, Kate, because this is a really busy time for you.
Been with veterans today, this afternoon doing a special veterans event. That's been brilliant. We were at 10 Downing Street on Monday the 5th for the official Prime Minister's VE Day street party. That was just remarkable. And obviously tomorrow it's the big VE Day concert at the Royal Albert Hall. We'll be there, and we've had some brilliant highlights. It's been lovely.
Your last album was top 5 a few years ago. These are songs that we have heard over and over again over the years. Why do you think they're still so popular?
Because they're timeless and they give so much hope to people, and I think it spans across the generations. I think they can see people through all walks of life, through dark days for everyone, whether it's a war or whether it's something personal.
Briefly, Kate, you're singing care homes, you've got a theatre tour. What do you get out of it?
I'm so proud to be able to, with the precious few that remain, let them know how we feel about them, and just for those last remaining few years, just say thank you, basically.
Katie, enjoy this week. Thank you. And here at Look North, we're saying thank you to them too, because a 99-year-old World War II veteran from York has made an emotional trip back to the beach where he came ashore on D-Day. Ken Cook was just 18 when he landed on Gold Beach. It was the first time he'd ever been on a boat. Many of his comrades lost their lives in Normandy campaign. We'll be following Ken all week as he marks 80 years since VE Day. He turned down an invitation to Buckingham Palace to make the trip because he wants to tell his story and the message from the war.
This is a man who is 99 and who has outlived almost every comrade. Ken Cook refuses to be called a hero. He says these are the heroes.
I come to say hello and see how they're going on. I'm very lucky because I've had another 80 years of life compared to these fellas.
Ken continues to tell his story of the Second World War in their memory and in the hope it never happens again.
We'll make the children promise that when they grow up, they'll make sure that what we went through will never happen again. And we drill that into them at the end of our talk.
11 years ago, Ken was one of 7 Normandy veterans who made a poignant return to France. Now, just one of them can still give that first-person account of how they fought for freedom. VE Day is 80 years ago, but it's 81 years ago since Ken landed on this beach, aged just 18. He, of course, had absolutely no idea that it would turn out to be such a pivotal moment in world history and in his own life.
Explosions, bullets flying about, rockets, all the rest, dust, smoke. I mean, you had to be here. The sergeants and the corporal were shouting, get off the beach as quick as we can. It says, if anybody falls down, gets shot off and falls down, leave them.
The D-Day landings on June the 6th, 1944 were the largest land, sea and air invasion the world had ever seen.
This is it. They're on the beach.
It was the turning point of the war, and VE Day came 11 months later and after a huge loss of life.
Over the years, it always goes back to the people who didn't come home. But the more stories I tell, and the more people listen to what we went through, somebody had to do it, and we were the people that did it.
And thank you for everything you did. This week, Ken is the guest of honour on a bus tour of the Normandy battlefields. Those on board won a competition to be here. Ben is the guide.
Ken's memory has been brilliant, especially today on Gold Beach, as we've heard his story of exactly what it was just like for him, a young man at 18 years of age landing onto the beach and what he went through. The future generation will continue to remember, whether it's the First World War, the Second World War, they will want to hear the stories of Ken and his friends.
Everywhere Ken travels in Normandy, he has stopped and thanked and asked for a picture. He never says no.
And we felt very blessed to meet Ken and to hear his experience. It is really heartwarming and it's going to be such a sweet memory for us.
To meet Ken was lovely. What a lovely man, beautiful man, interesting man and fit and able as well. I can't believe he's 99.
Ken fought here in Normandy for 4 weeks before he was badly injured by shrapnel and was taken home. He returned to fight months later and then suffered shell shock or PTSD. He didn't talk about his war experiences until he was in his 60s. Ken's journey in Normandy continues tomorrow. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, France. We will be covering Ken's story for the rest of the week, and thank you, Ken, and everyone else who fought in the war for everything that you did for us. Tomorrow is 80 years since VE Day, which marks the end of the Second World War in Europe. So there will be street parties, celebrations and services to mark this pivotal day across our region. We'll also be featuring your memories of the day. I'll be at the Town Hall Square in Keighley, where it would be great if you want to come down if you're in the area. We're going to be there from about 6 p.m. I am learning how to Lindy Hop, apparently, some form of dancing that was very popular back then. Obviously, I had to be talked into it, Paul.
Well, there's no better place in Yorkshire than Keighley, so you'll love it.
Well, I've been told that you're invited to come and dance as well.
I'll come down to Keighley and dance. If we can go to the Boltmakers and have a beer first thing.
Yeah, right,
How
okay.
about that?
Paul, it is gorgeous. What's happening for summer? Because this makes me worry when we have a dry spring. It ends up kids' holidays are wash out.
I don't want to give our viewers too much excitement, and this is probably meaningless to you, but the last time we had rainfall patterns like this, so February, March and April, the lack of rainfall is identical, here's a quiz question, to which year?
1942.
No, spring 1976. And of course that went on...
I was going to say that.
Well, that went on to be the hottest summer of the last century. And that doesn't mean this summer's going to be like that, but it's interesting nonetheless. Let me show you a couple of pictures that you've sent in. Amazing sky today. That was Cleckheaton with a halo around the sun. That's caused by the sunlight being refracted by what is cirrus ice clouds, you can see there. And the second one was an incredible display of altocumulus. Now, this was seen right across the region. That's Penistone, but I've seen pictures from West Yorkshire, in Scarborough as well. So it really has been very exciting in the skies today. For tomorrow, we're looking at variable cloud and some sunshine. And if you've got any more spectacular pictures, the addresses are on your screen right now. So variable cloud, some sunshine tomorrow, but it's interesting what's happening during the further outlook, because high pressure will remain with us, but it sort of changes orientation and we drag in much drier air from the near continent. That means Friday, the weekend and into next week, it's just basically warm and sunny. Now, there is a risk that this feature might introduce a shower risk later in the weekend, but for most of us, it's looking fabulous with a real taste of summer on the way, but not in the short term. A lot of cloud filtering in from the northeast right now. So this evening, variable clouds, some sunny spells. That cloud will come and go overnight. It might be thick enough for the odd light shower. Otherwise, it's dry and we'll see lowest temperatures down to 5 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow's high water times then, Scarborough 2:31, Bridlington at 2:55. So a day very similar to the one we've just had. There'll be some sunshine, areas of cloud floating in from the northeast, but it does look as though it's going to be dry. We're looking at temperatures coming in at 15 or 16 Celsius with a moderate southeast wind. Let's have a look at that wind, should I say. Let's have a look at the further outlook. Friday, it might be a grey start. The sun soon comes out, and look at that for a further outlook. Might be the odd shower late weekend into early next week, but it looks largely warm and sunny. That's the forecast.
Looks like a corker. Are you good at pub quizzes?
It depends what the subject is. If it's weather,
obviously,
I'm brilliant.
You seem to be full of useless trivia, but I enjoy it. Thank you, Paul, and so do our viewers as well. Don't forget, if you're around Keighley area, come down tomorrow night, enjoy the fun with us, and see Paul make a fool of himself dancing. Bye-bye.